I'm here with special guest Denise Rush, who's one of the best pie bakers I've ever known. And today she's going to share with us her secrets for baking great pies, and today specifically strawberry rhubarb pie. Welcome, Denise.
Thanks for having me.
Denise, I wanted to ask you before we get started here, what do you attribute to your pie baking success?
Well, the fresh ingredients is a good thing. With crust, you've heard it before, keep your ingredients cold until you make the crust, and so you can have a flaky one. Because unlike bread, you don't want to encourage gluten to form. And then with the ingredients inside, you try to get the most flavorful ingredients.
Well, that sounds like practical advice. So let's get started, shall we?
Indeed. I'm going to start by getting the inside ingredients ready. I'm using frozen rhubarb that I grew last summer in my garden, and then some frozen organic strawberries that I purchased from the store. It's spring here, but the strawberries and the rhubarb won't be ready to pick until about June. So we're using last year's in preparation for getting this year's crop. And I'm just going to put them in a saucepan to warm them up and melt them. This is about 4½ cups of rhubarb, chopped to about ½ inch slices. I'm just going to turn it on a low heat.
Is there water in the pan?
No, there'll be plenty of water coming off the fruit.
And that's about how much strawberries?
Well, a cup and a half, maybe. Oh, there's lots of strawberries here.
Cascadia Farms strawberries?
Cascadia Farms.
They make the best ice cream too.
Well, you know, I get organic strawberries because strawberries is one of the crops that they do lay heavily on with the pesticides. So I try to get organic ones for them, for baking. So I'm just going to let that happen while I make the crust. There's also some other ingredients that go into the filling. Some organic cornstarch and some sugar. Okay. Now we're going to start on the crust. And true to form, I'm going to go to the refrigerator and get the butter because I wanted it to leave in there till the last second.
And what's in the freezer?
In the freezer, I have some water chilling.
Oh.
With an ice cube in it.
So it really needs to be about as cold as you can get it.
Yeah, cold water. Just going to chop this up a little bit in the cubes so it's easier for the food processor to process. This is just American style salted butter. Some people like a real sweet crust, and I like the combination of a not so sweet crust and complementing it with the flavor of the fruit filling.
Which is pretty sweet in itself, isn't it?
Well, yeah, tart and sweet. I like all that thing. You get saltiness, you get the tartness of the rhubarb and the sweetness of the strawberries and the sugar, and all that adds to the flavor and the enjoyment of the pie. Okay, so I've got 2 sticks of butter, which is a cup of butter, and then I'm going to put in 2 cups plus 1 tablespoon of unbleached flour, and I'm doing the sprinkling in the cup so that the flour isn't all packed down. Then you level off the top. That's 1 cup, obviously. Here's the next one. And then you need 1 tablespoon. Try to get your ingredients measured well and done right the first time, because with pie crust, it's better to get all the ingredients mixed in at once rather than trying to add more flour or add more water. That encourages gluten to form when you have to keep working the dough, and you don't want it to be tough like that. So now we're just going to, oh, forgot the salt.
Oh, that was close.
You just need about a half tablespoon, it's like a little pinch.
A half a tablespoon?
I'm sorry, half a teaspoon.
Oh, okay.
Good catch. Set that in here in case we need it later. All right, get ready for some noise.
I'm ready.
So you can see it just took a few seconds to process the flour, the salt, and the butter to a crumbly mixture. Now is when you're going to add in your water. And so I have enough water here. I'm only going to put 4 tablespoons in. But I turn it on and add it as it's processing. There you go. When you see it gets rolled up into a ball, it is ready.
Wow. So what setting did you have the blender on? Is it just...
It's just a processing setting that's on or off. So
And you use just the blade or whatever
the
it's
blade,
called?
yeah, the processing cutting blade. You can't really use a blender in this, but I find the food processor to be the best, quickest way of making pie dough. If you don't have a food processor, you could do it by hand and cut it together with a pastry. I always had trouble getting this off though. There we go, wrong direction. Where's that pastry cutter? You can use a tool like this in a bowl to do it, but it takes you a lot longer. And during that time, the dough can get warmer from working it. And anyway, this is really a very efficient way of making dough.
So once the dough is mixed up, you want to make sure, you can't just go off and do something else. You got to work it while it's cold.
It goes fast. Well, what you can do is you can roll it up in some plastic wrap or wax paper and stick it in the fridge if you don't have time to deal with it right now.
Oh.
And actually, it enhances its quality often to let it sit in the fridge for maybe half hour. But I'm not going to do that right now because you don't have to. What I'm going to do is put half of it in the fridge while I work the bottom half. So I'm going to cut the dough in half. And I'm just going to wrap this up and put it in the refrigerator. And then, this is the fun part. I love doing this. I use wax paper to roll the dough out. That way I don't have to really add extra flour. I put a little bit down first, but just a tiny, tiny bit, just so nothing sticks to it. And then I press that out. Yeah, maybe about a ½ inch or so. Make sure it's not sticking. It's good. Okay, then I'll put the other piece of wax paper on top of it. The good thing...
Oh, the bread is done.
Oh, great.
It happens to be Easter today, and we've got guests coming in, so Denise is making pie, and I've got the bread going. I'm going with the seeded sour, one of my favorite and easy no-knead recipes. Denise's son Galen's coming in from New Hampshire. And some other folks.
First time I've ever done it, but there There you go. Sure had a gorgeous loaf, Eric.
Hi, thanks,
Yeah.
Denise.
Okay, back to the pie dough. So what was I saying? Yeah, well, one thing that's good about using wax paper is it gives you a distance, and funnily enough, this diameter all the way around of the wax paper is ideal for putting in a 9-inch pie plate. So I use it to measure as well as using it to keep it from sticking. Okay, then you just start rolling it out.
Now, on the way home from Iowa City last weekend, we were listening to Prairie Home Companion, and they were reading some of the poems from a contest they had conducted, and it was basically, I think the theme was spring. And one of the poems they read was one about rhubarb pie, and it was really struck our fancy. So I found it on the internet and printed it out. Denise, do you want to read
And
the
here
poem?
it is. This is Rhubarb Pie, spring lyric finalist, and this is by Sandra Justice of Greeley, Colorado. And we appreciate Sandra's sentiments. Sing high, sing low, gone is the snow. Bring on the rhubarb and pastry dough. Nutmeg a pinch, sugar a cup, strawberries too, sweeten it up. Fruity, juicy, tangy bliss. Who could wish for more than this? Mama's tonic, Dad's delight, I could eat it every night. I live up north. The reason why? I gotta have my rhubarb pie. I only hope that when I die, someone above's making rhubarb pie. Sing out, my dear, raise a cheer, 'cause spring has come and rhubarb's here.
All right.
Thanks, Sandra. Just about there. What happens is, I read a thing in a cookbook that was very apropos to making pie crust, and it says, treat it like flower petals. Well, you'll do that once you roll it out. You don't roll out flower petals. It'll be like the consistency and the delicateness of a flower petal if you do it right. Okay, we got it the right size. Here's the poem. So now, what's great about the wax paper technique too is it allows for transfer to the pie plate easier. So you peel off the top and then put it back on. And then flip it over and peel off the bottom. This time, you leave it off because you're going to put this over here onto the pie plate. Now this is where the delicateness of the flower petal comes in. Gently, gently center it over the pie plate. And because you peeled it off before, it makes it easier to come off. And look at there, isn't that sweet?
Wow.
So then you kind of gently lower it into the bottom of the plate. And like this. Now we like crust in this house, so I'm leaving the extra crust over the edge. You could cut that off, but also with strawberries and rhubarb it tends to overflow. So having extra crust around the edge can sometimes save you a mess in the oven. Okay, I'm going to put the wax paper back on, and I'm going to set this in the refrigerator because I've got to tend to the filling now again, because it's not ready to go in yet. Alright, now we're dealing with the frozen fruit over here. It's, you can see it's broken down. I mean, it's come apart anyway. It's not totally unfrozen, but there's lots of juice in there that's come off the fruit. What we're going to do now is add the extra ingredients. I'm adding 3/4 cups of sugar. And so, having had experience with it, this is kind of tart rhubarb, so we'll put closer to the cup line instead of the 3/4 cup. And then we put in 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. So now I'm mixing that in. Cornstarch is a thickening agent because you've got a lot of fruit juice here, And you're going to have to...
So you don't have to drain off any of that juice.
No, I like a good juicy pie when you do this kind of pie. And it will be juicy, but it's okay. I don't mind at all. It has so much flavor in it, I don't like draining it off at all. Now I'm going to put the filling in the pie. Actually, what I'm going to do first is roll out the other pie dough. That way the filling doesn't sit extra long in the pie. And I'll have that dough ready to put on the top. So I'm going to roll it up. Get a little bit of a little flour.
So this is pretty much a repeat of what you've already done with the bottom.
Right. Oh, here's another technique too. I'm on a granite countertop, which is great because it's cool and it's great for the dough. But sometimes it slides around. What you can do is get a couple drops of water. Not too much because you'll disintegrate the paper. But just a little bit is enough to help you keep it from sliding around.
Well, there's a handy trick.
Sometimes too, underneath it can start getting crumpled up like that. So you can just flip it over, stretch it out, and roll again. It's better not to have all those wrinkles in there when you get to the final pie crust because it can get caught in the wrinkles and make it difficult to take the paper off. Now see, if I hadn't been so cheap, I just got a new piece of wax paper and it would have not wrinkled up so much. In fact, you know, yeah.
So it would be a little bit easier just to use new wax paper.
Yeah, it's probably smarter to do that.
Well, I, for one, appreciate your frugality.
Yes, you teach me well. Sometimes it gets really delicate near the edge and you have to help it get off there with your finger. Okay, so we'll set that over here.
Where did the expression easy as pie come from?
Good question. It was from the people who ate it rather than made it.
Oh, easy to eat.
Yeah.
I knew there had to be an explanation. Actually, this doesn't look, well, of course, you make it look easy, but...
No, it's not some pies are much more difficult than this. Yes. You know what? I am going to have to reserve a little bit of this juice because it just won't even fit in this pie. So I'm just going to put the fruit. Ooh, got lots of juice in this one. Okay. Here we go with the top. Now this is one of my favorite parts, is doing the outside crust here. You need to squish it together with the under one and turn it under. Just squeeze it together. When it overlaps, you can just wrap it around like that. The main thing is you need to turn it under towards the pie plate so that the juice has no opportunity to come out like it's doing right there. You see that?
So you're basically just trying to seal
it. Yes,
the ingredients in the filling.
And then you're going to give air holes on the top for it to expand through. Okay, finish her up. I do a little technique where I push my finger in and around my index finger and thumb of the other hand to create a design that also helps seal the edge.
Very clever.
Okay, now what we're going to do is an egg wash for the top to make it get nice and brown. We need a few drops of water. It's just to make it soupy enough to brush on top of the pie. Last time I made the mistake of waiting till after I cut the slits in the pie to brush the egg wash on, and that's not a good idea because the egg wash will drag across the slits and make it messy. This will make it much prettier, and you can get an even wash on your pie. The sugar is going to be sprinkled on top so it can look nice and shiny and pretty. And guess what? It also tastes good. But you knew that. Alright, now another critical issue is, of course, your slit. Since it's not a lattice top pie, you're going to have to put, and it's very, very juicy, you're going to have to put, a decent amount of slits in the top. So if juice squeaks out and gets on the bottom, you can wipe it off with a towel, or you could just, do the best you can with it getting under there and clean off later. When Eric took the bread out of the oven, I turned the temperature down to 400 degrees. And that's what you need to have it at when you first put the pie in. You're going to bake it at 400 degrees for 15 minutes. Okay, well, it's been 15 minutes, and now I'm going to turn the oven down to 350, where it's going to cook another 45 minutes.
All right. All right, let's see what we've got here.
Could be trouble. Ah, see why we put a pan underneath?
Oh my gosh.
This was one juicy pie. But you know what? It'll taste great.
That looks really nice, honey. Wow, golden brown.
You can see, I'm just a rustic sort of home baker.
Yeah, right.